Title: The Belly of the Lie. The decision I never imagined that something as desperate as renting my womb could change my life in such a dark way. My name is Madison. I am 25 years old, and I lived in a small town where opportunities were scarce and dreams even more so. My mother's debt from her illness had me against the wall, and although I worked as a waitress by day and cleaned or offices at night, I couldn't stay afloat. That's when I saw the ad. Couple seeks surrogate mother, everything covered, high salary. You will live in a private property with medical attention and comodidades. Absolute discretion. I marked it without thinking. 2 days later, I found myself in front of an elegant office building in San Francisco. There I was, received by Evelyn Shaw, an elegant woman of about 40 years old, wearing designer clothes and a smile that seemed drawn with a ruler. "My husband and I cannot have children," he said softly, "but we want to form a family. And you have the profile perfecto." The contract was long and full of clauses, but the essential was clear. 9 months in a private house, totally attended, with food, medical attention, rest, and at the end, $100,000. Yes, enough to pay the hospital debt and start over. I accepted. The House of Silence. The house was on the outskirts, surrounded by tall trees and with a metal fence that closed automatically. A tall man with a gray beard and dark eyes received me. Richard Langford, the owner of the house, and according to Evelyn, a friend of the family. "Your well-being is the most important thing, Madison," he said, with a serious but kind voice. "This house will be your refuge." They assigned me a large room, with a private bathroom and huge windows. A cook came to prepare my meals, and a nurse came to sometimes per week. At first, it was almost like a luxury retreat, but soon, small things began to worry me. I couldn't leave the property. I didn't have access to the internet or my phone, no. Richard told me it was for safety. Evelyn and her husband stopped coming to visit me, claiming they were traveling. The nights were silent, too silent, as if the house itself were holding one's breath. The closed doors. One day, while Richard was leaving in his black truck, I took the opportunity to explore. The house had many locked doors, but I found one open in the basement. There I discovered a room full of boxes, some with unopened baby clothes, others with documents, medical histories of women, some with names, others without any. I saw a photo that made me tremble. A pregnant woman, alone, in the same garden where I sunbathed every morning. That woman was not Evelyn, nor me. It was someone else, and she seemed to have been there before. That's what I did. When I tried to take a picture with my cell phone, I discovered that the device they had given me did not have a camera, and that the emergency number marked in the contacts was false. That night, I pretended to sleep and heard Richard talking on the phone. "Yes, it will be ready in 8 weeks. There's already a buyer in Dubai." "No, he suspects nothing." My skin prickled. Buyer? What did he mean? The truth, Pa, I spent the following days on high alert. The nurse, who seemed kind at first, now injected me with vitamins without explaining anything. One night, I hid one of the syringes and showed it to you, my old doctor friend, when I managed to call from the gardener's phone. "Madison," she said when she saw me on video call, "this is not a vitamin. It's a memory inhibitor. This was used in experiment, the military. Where are you?" But before I could explain, the signal was cut. Then I knew I was trapped. The baby growing inside me was not part of a love story between a couple. I am sad. I was a product, an object in a clandestine network that sold newborns to the highest bidder, and I was just the container. The escape plan: I couldn't stay there. I pretended normality during E-weeks. He smiled. He nodded. He accepted the injections but spat them out when he could. I stole the garden keys. I started making signals with stones near the wall in case someone passed by, and every night, I wrote what I lived in a diary that I hid in the mattress. The night of the escape arrived with rain. At 3 in the morning, I feigned a strong contraction. The nurse rushed in, and in a descue I hit her with a candelabra. I ran out, with a huge belly and my heart about to burst, but Richard was waiting for me at the main door. "Madison, did you really think you could?" "Wire?" Her voice was colder than ever. At that moment, I knew she wasn't the first woman who had tried to escape. "That child is mine," she said with a disturbing calm. "Not biologically, of course, but legally NT lo será, and you are nothing more than a box." I don't know where I got the strength. Maybe it was maternal instinct or desperation, but I pushed him with all my body. I sounded the fire alarm. And while the sirens screamed, I ran to the forest, barefoot, with mud up to my knees. The new beginning. They found me 2 days later. Dehydrated, with a fever, but alive. The FBI had been following a lead for months. My friend, the doctor, had managed to send my location before the call was cut off. Richard was arrested. Evelyn too. The baby trafficking network Q, it was discovered. I had my baby in a government hospital, surrounded by agents and doctors. She was a girl, beautiful, perfect, and mine. The contract was declared illegal. No one had rights over M. I am a daughter. They offered me protection, psychological help, a new name if I wanted it, but I didn't want to hide. I wanted to tell my story, to speak for the other women who didn't escape, who didn't have air on voice. Now, my daughter is 1 year old. Her name is Hope, and every time I look at her, I remember that even in the midst of the deepest darkness, there is always a way to find the light. End.